Grace and peace unto you. Welcome. This is one of my testimonies, and I'm sharing it just to encourage somebody that as long as you understand that your life is in the hands of God, God will keep you. God will protect you. God will continue to be your strong tower. As a young man, I remember, and I'm not sure if this happens to a lot of people, because growing up in Jamaica, there were certain things that were celebrated and certain things that it was the norm. It was a part of the culture. And I'm praying that that would change, because you were encouraged to have multiple women. And I'm not sure if everyone goes through situations like this where you would find yourself doing something and is after you have done, then you find the courage to be like, I would never do that again. And when I came to know Christ, that's when I found out that these things, I could never do it on my own. I could never get past that on my own. My own strength wasn't sufficient for me to get up and be like, okay, I'm not doing that again. And that was it. It took God and His power, His grace, His might, His mercy to bring me to that point where I could stand up to say, I'm not doing it again, and never go back to doing it. So my own strength wasn't sufficient enough to overcome those challenges in my life. And having multiple women was one of those challenges. And in doing so, then I was set up for death. I was set up by someone who you'd be like, okay, they would never do that. But that was what happened to me. But by the grace of God, I'm still here today. And this even more of a proof to me, even then, that God, as long as His hands is upon your life, He will protect you. He will keep you. He will sustain you. Because in so doing, it's for His glory. And that's why I live my life now, encouraging others to come to know God through Jesus Christ. Encouraging others that it doesn't matter what you're going through or where you see yourself. Remember that as long as your life is in the hands of God, He is going to keep you for His glory. I used to date a woman who she was a married woman. Did I knew she was married? Yes, I knew she was married. But when you're blinded, believe me, you're not seeing too far. When you're blinded by the enemy, wrong easily becomes right. It doesn't take nothing for wrong to become right when you're blinded by the enemy, when you're being used by the enemy, which a lot of people would never admit. But for me, coming to know Jesus Christ and him bringing me out of that dark world, that darkness, into his marvelous light, I see clearly now that that was wrong. Then it was good. It was enjoyable. It was the thing to do, as wrong as it was. And this is also, one of my understanding now, when you're looking at someone and you're telling them that, okay, that's wrong. Many a times we have to understand that they can't see how wrong they are because they are blinded. So, I was dating this woman who, she was married. And we were dating for seeing each other for I think close to 8 months, going to a year. It was good, as I said back then, because I used to live in Kingston. I'm from Jamaica. I used to live in Kingston. She is from Montego Bay. So each time I would go to see her, it was like a getaway from the hustle and bustle of Kingston to a nice secluded hotel in Montego Bay, somewhere a little more calmer, relaxing. You have room service. It was like that. So we continue seeing each other. It would be 2 weekends out of the month I would go to see her. And each time it was so much excitement that is I can't wait for the next time to see. She told me that she and her husband was not at the best in their marriage. Things was rocky, things was falling apart. So, we continue seeing each other. After a while, I found out that she got pregnant. She told me that she was pregnant. Now, many things start going through my head. And, I start asking her questions. I'm like, is it for me? Because you have a husband. You told me that you guys not going great, things not going great. So I don't know what that means now. Is it for me, you pregnant? Is it for him? And she eventually told me she think it's for me because they haven't been active like that. I'm like, okay. Now we started now having issues because I think she got scared. She didn't want him to know. She got scared because she was thinking of, what things would be like. her husband is a police officer. And, you know, things started weighing heavy on me because I'm now thinking like, what next? How will this play out? We're not having much conversation anymore. She would answer to my messages at times, but like for phone calls, we weren't having any conversation over the phone apart from messaging. So I end up, you know, start wondering like, if this is my child, what would she do? I mean, would she tell her husband it's for him? I don't know. Many things start going through my head. So after like about a month, I think, or a month and a half, I stopped hearing from her. So I'm like, oh my God, no more text messages answering, no more calls answering. And that now started bothering me. I end up continue to send messages because I'm like, okay, if you're pregnant and it's for me, why is it that I can't hear from you? But, you know, then again, looking back, because at that point I wasn't thinking about her and the situation that she was in. I was just thinking of, why is it you're not answering my messages? Why is it you're not answering my call? But looking back now is like, okay, you totally overlook the fact that she's been placed in a situation that it's a difficult situation. It's a very difficult situation. She's married, she has her husband, they live together, even though she supposedly said that they are not having the greatest of marriage, things is rocky, but it is still a fact that they live together. So after like about 2 months, there was a friend who she always told me about. I think I spoke with the friend twice over the phone. And this friend, she has my number. The friend eventually reached out to me, and I was excited to hear because I wasn't hearing from her. So now the friend reached out to me, and in she reaching out to me, she's telling me that, okay, this is what is happening. She didn't feel like talking to you anymore because of the situation that she's in, and she think that, okay, she would figure it out by herself. This is what the friend is telling me. But she's in the hospital, and she asks if you could come and see her. Now I within myself be like, okay, I was so excited to hear something. I wasn't even thinking nothing. I wasn't even thinking like, okay, if she wanted to see me, why couldn't she simply send me a text message? Why she couldn't give me a call? If she wanted to come to me to come and see her. So those things weren't going through my head. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just excited to like, okay, hear from her or hear from someone close to her to let me know what's happening. So the friend be like, okay, she wants you to come and see her. I'm like, okay, that's okay with me. So the friend gave me a day and a specific time. And as I say, I wasn't thinking nothing more than oh my God, I was excited to hear something. And even so much so, seeing her again. So the friend gave me that date. She said, like, okay, she said, this is the day you're supposed to come, and this is the time. You should be there. I'm like, okay. So I couldn't wait for that day to come. I was there, and I, be like, okay, yes, this is good. At least I'll get to see her again and have some better understanding of what is going on, what she's going through, what is the situation like at home, because that was also a part of my concern, knowing that she's living with her husband, and I mean, she's now pregnant. So when the friend told me the day, the time, I'm like, okay. So on that day, I wake up and get myself together. I woke up early, get myself together, and I jump on the bus to Montego Bay. I was there so early, I end up staying by a little restaurant that was close by, and I bought something, sit there. I bought a newspaper, and I was reading through the newspaper, and was just sit there passing time until the appointed time. Yes, because it was really an appointed time. Yes, it was. And when the time came, I walk over to the hospital, and she told me where she was. So I went and asked information by the information desk, and they directed me where to go. When I got there, I didn't see the exact bed that they told me, the area that she would be in, the number. So I'm like, maybe something is wrong. So I went back and I asked again, and I think I went to the wrong area. So they redirected me, and I eventually find where she was. When I walk into that room, I called her name, and she knew my voice. She knew eventually. She knew that was me. So when she heard my voice, she looked up at me, and the look on her face, that alone, immediately, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong beyond what I was told, because her eyes was like this, looking up at me. That's not a look of someone who expects you. That's not a look of someone who, okay, arranged supposedly for you to come and see them. So immediately, once I saw those two eyes, immediately I backed up out that room, and I made my way to the exit. And I tried to do it in a manner that doesn't seem to give off any sense that, okay, could this be the one? Because I knew something was wrong. And as soon as I hit the second hallway to get to the exit, I saw a man coming in. He's a man of a huge status in body. And from what she had explained to me, I knew that was her husband. I walked past him. He walked past me. I made my way outside. I remember there was a column to the car park, and I went behind that column, and I was looking from an angle, and I saw the same man came back outside looking around. I walked straight in the line of the column and exited that area, and I could remember within me there were so many thoughts going off in my head. That man is a policeman. I could have easily lost my life right there. Easily lost my life right there. Because this friend of hers set me up. The husband found out what had happened, and he used this friend to lure me to the hospital. Only God knows what could have happened. Only God knows. And this is why I knew, looking back now, because in many aspects, growing up, you hear people saying, wow, you were lucky. These are the words that people use to you. You were lucky. But, coming to know God and accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, there was no luck in that. That was divine protection. That was from God. Because as much as I was there on time, and these are the things I think about, when you look back at certain situations in life. As much as I was there on time, I was there at the specific time that the friend told me to get there. But for some reason, through the powers of God, me and the husband did not get there at the same time. I was on time because I make sure I was there at 9 a.m. That's what the friend told me, 9 a.m. But God and His timing, and that's why you got to understand also, if you are doing something, if you're going somewhere and there's a delay, don't beat up on yourself. As long as you're doing everything right, do not beat up on yourself, because whatever delay you encounter, one of the most important things you have to remember as a child of God is that your steps are ordered by God, not by you or someone else. Your steps are ordered by God. So if there's a delay, it's to your benefit, not to your detrimental. These are some of the things that we have to truly remember as children of God. So at that point, when I got home, I was nervous. I wouldn't sit here to tell you that I was nervous right there. I was nervous because I saw what played out. I saw that this friend set me up, and the only thing I could think of, she set me up for me to die. That's the only thing I could think of. So I got home late the night. I tried to relax. I couldn't even sleep that night. I was like, I couldn't sleep that night. And the morning I just started sending off message to her like, what is this about? The friend, she didn't reply to my messages. But the lady, she replied to my messages, and you notice I haven't called her name because I don't want no one to like really have any idea of who I'm talking about. So that's why I haven't called her name. But I started sending her messages, and she eventually replied to one of my messages to let me know that had nothing to do with her. She didn't ask for me to be there. She didn't give the friend any message to give me. And that's when everything really within me be like, wow, wow, wow. Because you hear of situations at times and it's totally different when you find yourself in that situation. Yes, you hear of things happening, but when you find yourself in that situation, it's a different thing. It's like, this is it. This is the reality of the whole situation. I was set up to die, but God. So she told me that she didn't ask her friend to give me any message. And she told me one of the things that I started thinking after, like, because many times in situations is after then you start to sift through the whole thing to, okay, but she could have sent me a message. She had a phone. She could have called me if she wanted me to come there to let me know. And that was one of the things that she said to me. I could text you if I want you to come here. I wasn't thinking about that before. That wasn't in my thought. But, looking back, it's just a reassurance that as long as God hands is upon your life, don't be discouraged because of the journey. The journey at times will be treacherous, it will be rough, it will be heart-wrenching at times. At times you may put yourself in situations that become difficult and harmful to you. And at times you won't even do anything, but you still find yourself in certain situations. My situation, I created that ugly situation for myself. I was a part of it in putting myself where I shouldn't have been. and I accept that. These are some of the things, coming to know God. You ask for forgiveness for those things that you did then. And the only time you could realize how wrong you was when you came, or you come to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and that veil have been removed, that scale removed from your eyes, and you can see clearly now that was wrong of me. But after like about a couple months, she had reached out to me again, telling me that she had lost the baby. And I think about the situation that she was in and all the stress that she was going through. All that stress of knowing that, okay, she's pregnant, not for her husband, but she's living with her husband. She had a career. That was something that I also wasn't thinking about. She was a nurse, so she had a career. That wasn't a part of my thoughts. Like, many times if we would stop when we're in certain situations, we would see how selfishly we think. I mean, that was one of the things also that hit me, like, you were thinking selfishly then. You weren't even thinking about her household, how things would be, her career, her bills. It was just her family. It was just you and how you feel. You wanted to see her again. You wanted to know what's happening. So, I give this testimony to the honor and the glory of God in keeping me until this day, where I can continue as He have called me to do, to encourage others to seek Him, trust Him wholeheartedly, give Him your whole heart. And I've made it my desire. It's my desire to continue to tell people about God and Jesus, who was crucified for all the mess that we have done. He took our place. And this will be one of many of my testimonies. I will also start going live, where we can interact and have more conversation pertaining to life and the life of the believers, the life of those who are struggling in the body of Christ, because there are those who are struggling. There are those who in the body, but going through some things that it's through their weaknesses, it's through the flesh that they are struggling. And sometimes they feel like they have no one to turn to. So, I want to encourage everyone today, whatever stage you are at in this walk of faith, trust God wholeheartedly. He will take you from victory to victory. He will take you from grace to grace. God bless you. Until I made another video or go live again or made another testimony to share with you guys. I have many. But like this one, there were so many obstacles because I was waiting to get some equipment, and that didn't come through, but a testimony way heavy upon me, wanting to share it. So I use my phone and whatever little things I have to set up this one. So as you watch, continue to like, share, subscribe, tap the notification button. That's important. Tap the notification button so whenever time I upload another video testimony, and I have daily short prayers that you can read over. Some of them you can listen to. Share with your friends, share with your family, share with your co-workers, share with your fellow believers. God bless you. Until then, love.